What is up, guys? Rick is here going over the level 70 Miss Moxxi's Vibra-Pulse laser in Borderlands the pre-sequel. Now this gun is technically a quest reward, but also not technically a quest reward. It's kind of weird, but after completing the main storyline quest, Let's Build a Robot Army, you will be tasked with meeting Jack in Miss Moxxi's bar. Now upon doing so, you're going to be sent to the back where a chest, like a special red doll chest, is going to open, and there's going to be a variety of red text items, including a grenade, a shield, and the Miss Moxxi's Vibra-Pulse laser. But again, you don't actually have this rewarded to you for the completion of the actual quest. Like, when you complete a quest, it's very common for a special box to come up and show you your rewards. That's not the case with the Miss Moxxi's Vibra-Pulse. The chest in the corner of the bar will just open and then you just grab it. Now this gun is unique because of its red text, making it different from the average laser. Now the red text in this case is "Why not turn me on?" Now the attributes that this adds is, firstly, it's always shock. Actually, in fact, since there's really no variance to this gun, you will always get the same exact version of this gun. The only thing that'll be different is the level, depending on the level that you're actually getting rewarded this gun. Now aside from being always shock, also, it heals you. Being a Miss Moxxi's gun, it heals you a small amount based on the damage you're doing. Now, healing yourself with a gun is an amazing quality, extremely useful in the endgame content, and in fact anywhere throughout the game. And if that wasn't enough, another positive attribute that this red text adds is that while you're shooting an enemy, it has the chance to, the enemy that you're kind of shooting with this gun has a chance to arc off of him and damage another nearby enemy. So it's very good at damaging groups of enemies at the same time. Now, in addition to those positive attributes, the very cheeky but kind of annoying attribute that this gains is that when you switch to this weapon or when you aim down sights, the gun is going to vibrate for pretty much 3 to 5 seconds. Again, very cheeky, Borderlands, and I get the joke, but I'm on the Xbox One for this game, and there's no way to just turn off controller vibration, so this gun absolutely destroys my batteries. But it's worth it considering just how good of a gun this is. So because of the ease of getting this gun, like it's awarded to you just after a main storyline quest, a lot of you have probably picked this up but may not know if it's still viable in the absolute endgame content of level 70. Well, I can tell you that it absolutely is. Now, firstly, this gun has the amazing benefit that it's shock. Now, in my experience through the playthrough, shock is by far the most useful element. Now, that's because so many enemies have shields, and shock doesn't get downgraded. It doesn't resist normal health. So it's absolutely awesome fighting an enemy with a shield and then red health, because you can destroy a shield extremely easily and you get no punishment for shooting his health afterwards. If you have something like an incendiary gun, you are doing massively limited damage to his shield just to then try to get to his health so you can actually do some decent damage. Now, I know the correct answer is that if you see a shield, you're supposed to switch to a shock weapon, shoot down the shield, and then switch to an incendiary weapon and finish an enemy off. But ain't nobody got time for that shit. And frankly, you'll see just how powerful this weapon is. Like, I'm shooting guys, with a shield, the doll power suits, I'm shooting their shields, and this weapon is powerful enough that I can just continue to shoot them in their armor, where I know technically I'm supposed to switch to a corrosive weapon, but you'll see I'm doing pretty decent damage. I can take them down very easily. Why would I even bother? Now, the second attribute of this gun is that it's just a powerful, high-damaging gun. Now, for me, it should be known that I am using a laser Wilhelm build, so I'm doing a lot of damage because I have a lot of things that increase laser damage. So if you're playing a different character, you may have a hard time matching the exact damage output that you're seeing in this video. That being said, each character has its own special attributes involving, critical damage or gun damage, so I'm sure if you have the right build, you have a pretty good chance to come close to matching this damage output. But again, this gun just does really decent damage and has a very high fire rate, and it has the continuous damage bonus, so the more you shoot this gun, the more damage it does. Now this may not come up a ton when you're fighting normal enemies, but it's amazing when you're fighting bosses. Large bosses, you have a very high chance of literally just shooting until the magazine runs out and then making the most of that continuous damage bonus. And although the gun will be recoiling a lot by the end, again, if you have a very large boss in front of you like the Sentinel, it's hard to miss. It also should be mentioned just how important healing yourself by shooting enemies is. Now, if you don't do this, and especially in the absolute level 70 endgame, you are going to be having to pick up health vials just to heal yourself, because unless you have specific skills that give you health regeneration, you are screwed. You just do not regenerate health. This gun fixes that. This gun lets you, just by shooting enemies, regenerate your health. And as long as you have a good shield, you can pretty much always keep your health maxed up. And so by carrying this weapon and using this weapon, this can act as your static health regeneration. I know that usually when I play certain characters, I pick like just even 1 out of 5 of a skill that gives me static health regeneration, just so I can regenerate health as I'm playing the game. Otherwise, again, if I'm, 2 health away from dying and I'm not actually picking up vials, it just stays there. So I have to have skills specifically that let me just passively regenerate health. But with this gun, I can ignore those skills and put those points into skills I may want more, like gun damage or laser damage. On top of all those things, you gotta remember that also it's very good against crowds of enemies, because damage will come off of one enemy and damage another, and that is just on top of everything else that is so excellent with this gun. So all of those things combine to create an excellent laser, even at the absolute end game level 70 content. I would definitely recommend picking this up. It's common, you've probably picked this up already a couple of times throughout your playthrough, so you may kind of forget about this gun, but don't. You should definitely keep a copy in your inventory. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any recommendations for another red text weapon that you want to see reviewed, please leave it in the comment section below. And as always, have a good day.